Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to talk about Star Wars Outlaws yet again. Now, we just got off of making a video about Ubisoft pulling the crew from digital stores and basically removing it from people's libraries, and then having the gall to go tell players, hey, I know we just took this game away from you, but hey, go purchase our other games that we may or may not take away from you. This company is absolute trash, and we're going to have another example of this. Now, this article starts off not so bad. You know, what Julian Garridy actually says is actually not that terrible. But the funny thing is, they end up not being able to help themselves, and they ruin it by trying to tell you some BS excuse as to why the character in this game looks the way that she does.
It's a man, baby! Yeah. Yeah.
So we have an article here from That Park Place with a headline that reads, Star Wars Outlaws creative director Julian Garridy explains why he describes Kay Vess as much a more modern protagonist. So apparently Kay Vess is more of a modern protagonist than any other protagonist we have gotten in Star Wars recently, and I'm sure half of you people who are watching right now can figure out why. So let's get into this article, guys, from That Park Place. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. It says Star Wars Outlaws creative director Julian shared why he describes the game's protagonist Kay Vess as a much more modern protagonist. Speaking with Game Informer, Garridy first shared his assertion, I think she's a much more modern protagonist than we usually see in games. He then explained she's somebody who's very much a street thief, who gets thrown into things that are beyond her control, and that she kind of thinks she has to think her way out, and that makes it a little more relatable than someone who has all the confidence and sarcasm and just comes off as somebody who is not believable. He added, so having her relatable in a way that was extremely important for us. So, number one, the argument about having Kay Vess be relatable just seems a little bit odd to me, and believable too. When you say relatable and believable, those are two very strong words that you got to be careful using with certain characters, especially the believable part, right? So you're going to have me believe that this 110-pound, 120-pound woman is able to beat up a horde of 300-pound plus dudes simply because of reasons. Like, you're going to start having to, I guess, put the fantasy away. Like, that's the problem. When you start talking about believability and you start talking about realism in a fantasy game, then people are going to start asking you realistic and real questions. And what ends up happening is you're not really going to have a good answer for those things. And you're going to end up saying, well, it's not real in the first place. Well, if that's the case, why'd you bring up believability anyway? Then it says, Garridy previously told Edge Magazine via Games Radar that this team intentionally tried to make the character more relatable by having her be a rookie. He explained that the team wanted her to be a little more relatable, so they made her more of a rookie, a petty thief, who ends up in a situation that's much bigger than they ever expected. Now, that's nothing wrong with that, okay? I understand. That's all good. If you want to make her not a Mary Sue, I'm always okay with that. You know, that's the problem with a lot of female characters. They end up making them Mary Sues, and people just completely get, like, turned off. Nobody wants to deal with it. Nobody wants to see it. You're going to have this woman literally be perfect at everything. She's going to be beating up every man in sight. Let's be real. Nobody wants to deal with that, and that's why a lot of people get turned off with female characters in modern day, because female characters in the past were not like that. They were much more fleshed out, much better written stories, and that's why people didn't have an issue with them. So if you're telling me you're going to make her a little more relatable, that she's going to be more of a rookie, she's not going to have the answers for everything, that sounds a little bit better in my opinion, but then you kind of ruin it later on in the article. It says game director Matthias Carlson also claimed that Vess is relatable because she's not a Jedi. Carlson said, I think it's very relatable as a human being on planet Earth that this character doesn't have any magical powers or properties behind her daring, her skills, her tools, and her buddy Nick. So essentially, she's female Han Solo. That's basically the story you're trying to play. She's female Han Solo, the character that everybody could relate to because he wasn't a Jedi. You're going to have the same exact thing. This is a female Han Solo story. That's all this is, and that's as much as it's ever going to be. It says the personality type is also perfectly suited for going on a swashbuckling adventure. I think that's something I really resonated with thinking about this character in terms of building a game and gameplay around it, he added. The game's associate art director, Martha Jonkers, also confirmed that the company and its employees spent a significant amount of time designing the character, especially her look. Now, this is where it gets interesting, ladies and gentlemen, because they're gonna start to explain and try to analyze or tell you why she is as ugly as she is for a lot of people. Jonkers shared, we put a lot of care into her design and what she's wearing and how she looks to tell her story. She has a lot of elements in her design that tell a bit of her story. For example, she has a broken nose. She's been through a lot. You can see that she has scars and stuff. She also has a hairpin. I love that element because she uses that to lockpick doors, and you can use that from the beginning to do some thieving, she added. Now, the lockpicking thing, perfectly fine. Don't care. I've seen that so many times in many different games. That I am genuinely starting to believe that they are utilizing stuff like, oh, she has a broken nose because of whatever history that happened. I genuinely believe that they're doing that because not only do they want to make the character less feminine, but also I think they just don't have the skill to pull it off. I think a lot of these artists who are trying to make us convinced that the narrative right now is that female faces are harder to do, thus they don't come out exactly feminine, and that's why they look so masculine now. I think it's such a bullshit narrative, but if you want me to believe that narrative, then that means that I really feel that you're making these things a thing because you don't have the skill to actually pull off a real feminine face like the ones that you scan. I really genuinely believe that. So you don't have the ability to make that feminine nose. So what do? You break her nose, right? You break her nose so that it gives you an excuse to make it a more masculine looking face and nose. It's the same thing with all these rough features you're making. You're using all this stuff. She has scars and everything. You're using that as an excuse for your inability to make an actual beautiful female face, or even just a regular real female face for that matter, not something with a jaw that looks like it belongs in the NFL. Like that's essentially what I'm starting to get here. It says the character's design has been heavily criticized since it was first revealed, but that's an understatement. Back at the beginning of March, ex-user Manga Lawyer shared 2 side-by-side photos of Kay Vess alongside actress Humberly Gonzalez, who plays the character. The user wrote, "Total video game character assassination by feminist developers, Star Wars Outlaws 2024. He added they are taking all the beautiful models and turning them into chestless Karens. Now, listen, that's not something that's false, okay? I mean, you're going to have people disingenuously try to argue with you and tell you, well, Gonzalez over here on the right is in makeup, right? She's in makeup, and that's why this character is so ugly. So makeup changes your jawline. Makeup gives you a butt chin. Makeup gives you a broken nose. Makeup gives you, goes from arch eyebrows to just straight up eyebrows, like big ass like that's what you're trying to make me understand right now. Like, listen, I understand makeup contours faces, but it doesn't change your fucking jawline, ladies and gentlemen. At the end of the day, it doesn't change your bone structure. They very clearly changed this character a ton, and they gave her the prototypical look, ladies and gentlemen, the look that is the modern female look right now for the trans gays. They gave her the short hair, they gave her the tattoos, they gave her the wide jaw, they gave her the weird looking nose, they gave her the chiseled cheeks, they gave her the straight man eyebrows, and they made sure that she didn't walk like a woman. They made sure she walked like a man, up tall, wide shoulders, no hips whatsoever, completely made her into a male. That's what they did. No matter how much they want to try to say, oh, it's because of her experiences and how rough she's had it, it doesn't fucking matter. You dressed her like a dude, you made her walk like a dude, she probably talks like a dude in the video game, I would imagine, and she definitely has the look of a dude, and it's all because you wanted that to be the case. You made sure that that was the case. You even openly admitted up here that you spent a lot of time designing this character. You spent a lot of time making sure this character fit the exact look that you were going for. So everything that's on this character, I have to start to think is heavily, heavily intentional. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy, and if you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.